Hello, listeners. Welcome back to another episode of Fluent Mic English. I am your host, Corey, and today we have a very special episode planned for you. If you are listening to this, you are already doing something amazing for your language skills. Today, we are going to talk about learning English.
That's right, Corey. Hello, everyone. My name is Fenrir, and I am thrilled to be here. This is a very meta episode. That means we are using English to talk about how to learn English. It is the best way to learn, honestly.
Exactly. And before we dive in, and that is a great phrasal verb, dive in, which means to start something with energy. Before we dive in, let's look at our goal for today. We want to provide you with a comprehensive guide on how to improve your English using simple, effective methods.
Yes, we want this to be actionable. That is a good business word, actionable. It means you can actually take action on it. You can use this advice immediately. We aren't just talking about theory, we are talking about practice.
So, Fenrir, let's start with the biggest problem most students face. It isn't grammar, and it isn't vocabulary. What do you think is the biggest barrier for learners?
I think, without a doubt, it is fear, specifically the fear of making mistakes. We call this perfection paralysis. You want to be perfect, so you are paralyzed. You cannot move, or in this case, you cannot speak.
Oh, that is such a good term, perfection paralysis. I see this all the time. Students feel that if they don't use the correct preposition or the perfect verb tense, they should just stay silent. But that is the opposite of how we learn, isn't it?
It is exactly the opposite. Imagine a baby learning to walk. If the baby falls down, do they think, "Oh no, I am terrible at walking, I should quit"? No, they get back up. In English, we have to embrace mistakes. A mistake is just data. It tells you what you need to improve.
I love that perspective. A mistake is just data. So for our listeners, the first lesson today is be brave. It is okay to stumble. To stumble means to trip or to almost fall while walking. But in speech, it means to hesitate or make a small error.
Right, and actually native speakers stumble all the time. We say we say we restart our sentences. It is perfectly natural. So once you conquer that fear, you need a method. Corey, what is the #1 method you recommend for easy learning?
I always tell my students to focus on comprehensible input. This is a concept from a linguist named Stephen Krashen. Basically, you should listen to or read English that is just a little bit above your current level. You understand the general message, but maybe not every single word.
That is a crucial distinction. If you listen to something too easy, you don't learn anything new. If you listen to something too hard, like a medical textbook or a fast rap song, you get frustrated and give up. You need that sweet spot in the middle.
Exactly, the sweet spot. That is a great idiom. It means the perfect position or the perfect balance. So podcasts like this one are designed to be in the sweet spot for intermediate learners. We speak clearly, but we use natural vocabulary.
Speaking of vocabulary, Corey, how should our listeners build their vocabulary? Many people try to memorize lists of words. They write down apple, banana, constitution, democracy, and they try to remember them. Does that work?
Honestly, no, it rarely works long term. That is called rote memorization, where you just repeat something like a robot until it sticks. But the brain doesn't like that. The brain loves context. You need to learn words inside of stories or sentences.
I completely agree. For example, if I teach you the word exhausted and I just tell you it means very tired, you might forget it. But if I tell you a story, I ran a marathon yesterday. I ran for 4 hours and now I am absolutely exhausted. You remember the feeling. You connect the word to the situation.
Right, context is king. So listeners, when you hear a new word in this episode, don't just write the word, write the whole sentence. See how the grammar works around the word. That helps you use it naturally later.
Let's pivot slightly. I want to talk about consistency versus intensity. This is another major trap for learners. A trap is a situation that is difficult to escape from. The trap is thinking you need to study for 5 hours on Saturday to learn English.
Oh, I know this trap well. It's like going to the gym. If you go to the gym once a month and work out for 10 hours, you will just hurt yourself. You won't get strong. Language is the same. It is better to study for 15 minutes every day than for 5 hours once a week.
Precisely. It is about the habit. You want to make English a part of your daily routine. Maybe you listen to a podcast while you wash the dishes. Maybe you read one page of a book before bed. Small steps lead to big distances.
And that brings up the idea of immersion. People think immersion means buying a plane ticket and moving to London or New York, but you can create an immersion environment right there in your bedroom.
Yes, you can. We call it a digital immersion. Change the language on your phone to English. Watch Netflix with English subtitles, or even better, no subtitles if you can handle it. Follow English speakers on Instagram or YouTube. Suddenly, your brain is forced to process English all day long.
That is a great tip. Changing your phone language is simple, but it teaches you so much practical vocabulary. Words like settings, display, notifications, privacy. These are words we use every day in the modern world.
Now, Corey, I want to address a specific technique for speaking. Many of our listeners say, I have nobody to speak with. I live in a country where nobody speaks English. How can they practice speaking?
That is the most common complaint I hear, and the answer is a technique called shadowing. Have you used shadowing before, Fenrir?
I have, actually, when I was learning Spanish. Shadowing is very effective. Can you explain to our audience exactly how it works?
Sure. Shadowing means you listen to a native speaker, like us right now, and you repeat exactly what they say, almost at the same time. You are like their shadow, following right behind them. You don't just say the words, you copy the emotion, the speed, and the melody.
The melody is important. In linguistics, we call that intonation. English has a specific music. We go up and down. If you speak like a robot, flat and monotone, it can sound unnatural, even if your grammar is perfect.
Right. For example, if I ask a question, my voice usually goes up at the end. Are you hungry? You hear that rise? Hungry? Shadowing helps you practice that music without thinking about it too much. You just mimic. Mimic means to copy.
So listeners, you can try it right now. I will say a sentence, and I want you to repeat it after me. Ready? Here is the sentence. I am improving my English every single day. Go ahead.
I hope you said it out loud. Let's try one more with a bit of emotion. Fenrir, give them a sentence with some excitement.
Okay, how about this? Wow, this is actually much easier than I thought. Try to copy my surprise. Wow, this is actually much easier than I thought.
Perfect. That is shadowing. You can do this alone in your car, in the shower, or in your room. It trains your mouth muscles to move in the English way. It builds physical memory.
I see. It connects the brain to the tongue. Now, Corey, let's talk about the intermediate plateau. We mentioned this briefly earlier. It is that feeling when you stop improving. You learn quickly at the start, and then you get stuck.
The plateau. It is very frustrating. You feel like you are working hard, but your level stays the same. To get stuck means you cannot move forward. This happens to almost everyone around the B1 or B2 level.
So how do we break through the plateau? I think the answer is to challenge yourself with different types of content. If you always listen to the news, try watching a comedy. If you always read fiction, try reading a science article.
Variety is the spice of life, as they say. That idiom means that doing different things makes life interesting. In language learning, variety exposes you to new vocabulary domains. A domain is a specific area or topic.
Yes, if you only watch cooking shows, you will know the words for spoon and boil, but you might not know how to talk about politics or travel. You need to widen your circle.
Another way to break the plateau is to focus on output. We talked about input, listening and reading. Output is speaking and writing. You need to produce the language. Writing a journal is a fantastic, low-pressure way to do this.
I love the idea of journaling. You can take 5 minutes at the end of the day. Write 3 sentences about what you did. Today I went to work. It was busy. I ate a sandwich. Simple. But over time, you will start writing more complex thoughts.
And the great thing about writing is that you have time to think. When you speak, you have to be fast. When you write, you can look up a word, you can check your grammar. It helps you solidify what you know. To solidify means to make something strong or solid.
Let's touch on one more topic before we finish today. Phrasal verbs. Learners hate them, but native speakers use them constantly. We have used quite a few today already.
Oh, phrasal verbs are tricky. A phrasal verb is a verb plus a preposition, like give up, look for, or run out of. The meaning is often completely different from the main verb. For example, run means to move fast with your legs, but run out of means you have nothing left.
Like we ran out of milk. It doesn't mean the milk went for a jog. It means the bottle is empty. My advice for phrasal verbs is don't panic. Treat them like individual vocabulary words. Just learn run out of as a single unit meaning empty.
That is the best approach. Don't analyze the grammar of it too much. Just learn the chunk. Give up means quit. Find out means discover. If you learn them in context, they become much easier.
And remember, listeners, you don't need to use complex phrasal verbs to be understood. It is okay to say, I discovered the answer. Instead of, I found out the answer. But you need to understand them when you hear them.
Absolutely. Comprehension comes first. Production comes second. So Fenrir, as we wrap up this episode, wrap up means to finish or conclude. What is your final piece of advice for our motivated listeners?
My final advice is to enjoy the journey. Learning a language is not a destination, it is a lifestyle. Don't obsess over the result. Enjoy the fact that you can understand a podcast in a foreign language. That is a superpower. Be proud of yourself.
I couldn't agree more. You are unlocking a whole new world. You can talk to millions of new people, consume new media, and see the world differently. It is worth the effort.
And remember, consistency is key. Keep listening, keep shadowing, and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Fenrir. It was a pleasure having this conversation.
The pleasure was mine, Corey. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the video.